How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Griffin's Nest podcast. I'm your host, Owen Griffin, and I'm joined today by my friend Ryan McCaffrey. How's it going, man?
It is good to see you. It's been almost a year now
Yeah, I
since we
know.
happened upon each other.
Yeah, wild. We met on the Disney Star Cruiser. I was there for my 21st birthday and surreal experience. Yeah, that was wild. You were there for, was it your
I was there with we do a Disney. We've been lucky to do a Disney trip every year with my brother-in-law and his three kids. And so this we'd usually done Disneyland, and this year we'd kind of all been psyched about the Star Cruiser. And my brother-in-law, who's way more successful than me, was like, "Let's do it." So I was like, "Well, that's amazing. Thank you. Let's." And so yeah, we got to go. It was me and my daughter, and then him and his two of his kids, and one of them brought a friend with him. So it was four of them total, and the two my daughter and I. So it was six of us total, all having our adventures.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, your daughter was on the dark side, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
oh,
That's
yeah,
yeah, only the cool people were on the dark side.
yeah.
Uh yeah, no, that's wild. It's did you enjoy it? Because it was
I have to tell you, I went in. I guess I definitely didn't know what to expect going in, and I purposely didn't look at any YouTube videos or like I wanted to go in blind and just
mhm,
try to have as pure of an experience as possible. But being a video game critic, I kind of thought, well, I wonder how is this really going to go? Am I going to kind of see through the cracks of all of this? And I don't know about you, and I actually want to hear your reaction because we talked. I mean, when we talked it, we were both in the middle of it.
yeah.
I really loved it. I mean, it really was a special experience. Is it? Again, I didn't foot the bill, so my brother-in-law is. I'm. It was a gift, and I'm extremely grateful for it. Would I don't know if I would have felt differently if I had been the one swiping my own credit card,
Hmm.
but it really was it was a unique, very Disney experience. Like that's the whole thing that differentiates Disney from most of the other, pretty much all the other theme parks, right? Is that there's that sort of extra layer of immersion, an extra layer of laugh at me if you want, but magic, right? There is kind
Hmm.
of, it's not just a roller coaster. It's this whole crazy thing with a story, and so yeah, with the Star Cruiser, I was really impressed. The actors were all phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The sort of run of show, the schedule of things was really good. Where kind of had the first night, little welcome, little intro. You eat in the dining hall, and then the kind of the story starts to unfold, and then actually, I guess I don't want to ruin it for people, even though it is going away, and now nobody else is going to get to do it. But
Yeah.
just yeah, the there is an away mission down to the planet, down to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where there was stuff to do, right? It,
Hmm.
it actually, I will say, as a sort of side tangent, it gave me a greater appreciation for Galaxy's Edge. When I had first had the privilege to go to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland a few years ago, I was not underwhelmed, but I was a little disappointed because I mean it opened with just the Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon ride. And it
Okay.
was like, yeah, this, that ride's okay. And I mean, when Rise of the Resistance opened, then it's like, I mean, I don't know how you feel, Owen, but I think, in my opinion, Rise of the Resistance is the actual single greatest ride Disney has ever done, period. I think it is
Hmm.
their crowning achievement. But yeah, having the sort of uh Star Cruiser experience weaved into Galaxy's Edge really gave me a greater appreciation for that land, which I kind of thought was it was lacking a little bit. And I guess it still is,
Hmm.
unless you're doing the Star Cruiser and you have these other little like live action role playing activities going on. But it was, point is, like the way the activities and the way they structured it was really smart. And by the end, like we were all cheering and we were all invested in it, and we were,
Hmm.
it was a blast.
Yeah. So I was the complete opposite when I first learned about it. It was my dad did it for me and my sister for my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
And so immediately hopped on YouTube. What should I wear? What am
Yeah.
I doing? And of course, I go with let's wear a leather jacket in Florida, which is
Oh
just,
yeah.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah. My
But
daughter had a black heavy Sith robe
yeah,
on, and
yeah,
yeah, I had like a little Star Wars jacket too, so, with pants, right? So
yeah,
I can relate, but yeah, not quite leather jacket territory, but
yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And so it was just, I think it's an amazing experience if you are in love with Star Wars,
Yeah.
because even when you're checking in and the people on the front are like, "Oh, where are you from?" And the first three people are like, "Oh, well, I'm from Minnesota, or I'm from California," and their response is like, "Where's that on the star map?"
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, I gotta go to Wikipedia and search up some Star Wars locations."
Yep.
And it's they truly try and immerse you
Yeah.
into the whole experience, and it gets to that point where you're like, okay, now I'm a smuggler in this area, and you completely can invest yourself
Yes.
into thing. And I saw people who were wearing like full on alien Twi'lek
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
armaments, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like that's like this is a one big trip kind of thing, and you have to kind of go all out for it,
Yeah.
because if not, you're doing it a disservice.
Exactly. It is kind of, you will get, to an extent, you will get out of it what you put into it.
Exactly. And it got to that point where I was, because 21st birthday, I'm fine just chilling at the bar. And my sister was going up to all the cast members and everybody, and was like, "Oh, it's his birthday. Like, can we, do a little secret mission or anything like that?" And it got to a point where I was like helping Chewbacca hide,
Yeah.
or like we were doing like secret space missions and things like that. And it was like, if I didn't have her, then this entire trip would just be me getting drunk. Like, you know what I mean? Like getting drunk and playing with lightsabers, which is not a bad thing, but it's she definitely, made the experience even better.
That's great.
But yeah, it's the atmosphere was really just super down to earth, and it got to the point where when we got down to Galaxy's Edge, it we met up with a couple other people who were on the dark side, who were around the same age as us, and completely hit it off, because nerds are just one big community.
Sure.
And there was this one guy who is a super big Star Wars dude, and so he had like reservations for everything, and me and my sister were completely oblivious to that. And so we went into like the secret cantina and got all the little cool drinks, and then we
Yeah.
did Smuggler's Run, and then we did Rise of the Resistance. And it's walking around in a Star Wars land wearing your Star Wars clothing. It really just, it's a whole different vibe.
It is.
It's like, okay, I can see myself being in this world. And I think that's the one of the main things that the Star Cruiser experience really kind of capitalizes on.
So
And
so a
yeah.
good 21st birthday then. Like you will
Oh
remember
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you and I, and then we were hanging out in the cantina that last night,
Yeah.
till like 1 in the morning, I think. So,
Yeah.
and a bunch of other people were there too.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, the degree, they just take it like all the way, like
Yeah.
at that thing. And it's, the drinks are themed, and there's the sabacc table in the cantina. And oh man, yeah, it's, I hope, did you interact with your with the droid on the screen in your room? Because there was like a whole bunch of little side quests and things you could do with that too.
So I think I hit him once, and it was like right when you come in, and he was like, "Yo, how's it going?" And he
Yeah.
does his entire greetings. And then my sister was like, "We can't be in this room." You know what I mean? You have to go out and just explore.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the only time that I think we went to sleep not knowing that like you could tell him like to turn the lights off.
Yeah. And
And
tell
so
you a bedtime story.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
and so we weren't in the room to the point where we actually could utilize that, which is one thing that I kind of missed is when it's something like this, you want to experience everything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But there's not even enough hours in the day to, because we went on the more bad side, and I was kind of telling my sister, it's like, well, if you go good, you can just tell me about it, and then I'll go bad, and then we'll see, which one kind of vibes. And she was
Right.
like, "You're dumb. We're going evil." And I was like, "Fair enough, fair enough." But yeah, I didn't really have a chance to kind of talk with the that guy, but yeah, I don't know. It's just it was a wild experience.
Yeah, I've one a longtime friend and coworker of mine who's him and his wife are both big Star Wars fans. It's just them, no kids, but they had been planning to go, and they went for his birthday in earlier this year.
Hmm.
And the whole thing where they made custom outfits and had
Hmm.
backstories for themselves, and they had an amazing time. And then when the announcement was made that Disney's closing it down, they were able to get they decide they had wanted to go again at some point in the future. And so they I guess they scrambled and booked one of the last voyages, because now it's they're all the remaining, what, it's 3 months, I think. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's so it's all booked up now, and so they're going to go one more time. And I'm really happy for them, and I'm just bummed that, like, that we're going to be on a relatively short list of people that ever get to do it, right?
yeah.
Like, I wish more people could get to experience it.
It's. I think the pricing was for how I guess for how short it was.
Yeah,
It was it
it's
was
insane.
it's insane, but it was the experience that you got out of it is you could kind of wrap your head around it
Yep,
to the
I
point where
agree.
it's like if this is a graduation present or a
Yep,
one of the big milestones,
sure.
I can see it. But like the dude that I was saying had shown us all the secret locations. He owns like a Star Wars shop in Atlanta and like a
Oh
Star
wow.
Wars channel. And so his girlfriend's I think younger sister works there at the Star Cruiser. So he's gone 3 more times
Oh wow.
which is because it's like discounted for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm like, what are you trying to get? And he's like, dude, you just got to collect everything. And it's and I dude,
Good for him.
good for him. That's crazy. But it's like, yeah, and I think the one thing I was getting hounded on by my dad was the price of beer, because I was getting I think they were like Gamorrean ales for like $28, and I was like, I do put it on my tab. But it was, yeah, I mean, with the amount of money I spent on beer alone, I think it should have run till December. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's like, I would agree with you that, and I know it's easy for us to say as people that were lucky enough to get
yeah.
gifted this,
Hmm.
that it was worth the money, right? It's
Hmm.
easy for us to say that, but I agree with you, because it really was a memorable, and because it I probably would have never gone again, even if it had,
Hmm.
like, it was probably going to be, and I knew that going in, like, given the price, like, this is probably a one-time deal. I thought that maybe in time Disney would just wrap a new story around it to encourage people to come back. Like, okay, if
Hmm.
you've done it before, now we have a new cast, new story.
Hmm.
Like, that was kind of where I thought it would go. It's unfortunately just not lasting long enough. But yeah, I mean, it does run counter to, because I'm a big Disneyland fan. It
Hmm.
does run counter to Walt Disney's whole guiding principle of that Disney should be for everyone. It
Yeah.
is absolutely like it is priced at, it is only like the 1% are going to get
Yeah.
to ever experience it. So, like, I get that. There's probably room for that in
Hmm.
the whole Disney ecosystem, but it is a shame that there's so many people that are Star Wars fans that would, I'm sure, want to do it, but it's it is priced way out of most people's range. So,
Hmm.
um yeah, it's still having, like, if I hadn't gotten to go, I guess I wouldn't feel too much
Yeah.
one way or the other about it closing down. Like, oh,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess the extent of it probably would have been, oh, that would have been fun to do sometime if I ever could have afforded it or if it ever could have worked out. But it I thought it really was a
Hmm.
special thing that I definitely will not be forgetting
Hmm.
anytime soon.
Exactly. It's the same as like when you're in element or like high school and you're learning about Pompeii, and it's like, well, I don't really care about this kind of stuff, but then like, when you and your family go and visit Pompeii and
Yeah.
you get to see it,
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's now a personal experience that I
Exactly.
have. And so it's, even if I even if I liked it, if I didn't like it, it's still a memory that is exclusive now.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
It was wild for me and to be like, in the middle of this thing, and all of a sudden, you come up and tap me on the shoulder, and you're like, Ryan from IGN. I'm like, wait a second, how does anybody, like, I'm getting recognized here?
Oh, dude,
But
I
you were
got
super nice, and it was yeah, because like I said, we both had costumes going on, and I would you agree? Like, it seemed like in our voyage, would you agree that it was about maybe half the people, like 50% of the people were dressed up,
oh yeah,
maybe even a little more?
which was actually kind of crazy because it's the thing, like even on YouTube when I was looking it up, it was like, yeah, there's not really going to be any kids, and if there are, they're old enough to like follow a story, but there were babies, there were
There were
like
plenty of kids there.
plenty of kids, and it was like, it was a weird kind of mix, because you expect kids at a Disneyland, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
then when you get told that, like, oh well, it's mostly going to be adults, there's a bar there, there's things that like original trilogy kids are going to be able to
Right.
experience, and then there's kids who are growing up on the sequels, and they're like, oh, this is the Ray's ship, and it's like, I didn't even know that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a completely different experience. And it was great looking through those kids' eyes. Cause I think, and the people that you meet, I met you, I met a couple people now that, I'm going to go down to this thing called Dragon Con, which
Yep.
is
I'm
like,
familiar.
yeah. And so, me and a bunch of people that I met over there, I'm flying down there in, August. I just finished making a Mandalorian costume.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that. And then I met the like co-owner of the Padres. He was on the dark
Oh,
side
wow.
too. Yeah. And it's like, never in a million years would you think that like a nerddom would have such a wide,
Yeah.
range of people. And I don't know, it's an experience for sure. And it sucks that no one's going to be able to kind of
Yeah.
experience it anymore, but they have to do something with the building, right?
Yeah, I can't figure out what that's going to be. Because it's, you can't even go to that building unless you're going on the Star Cruiser. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, it's not, you can't walk to it. It's like you have to take an Uber or a cab there, and yeah, it's like behind Disney Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what, and it's small too, right? Because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of rooms.
No.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Disney's going to do with that building, if they, I mean, what you could repurpose it for, or if they just knock it down and maybe, clear that land for something else. I mean, it would be kind of wild to knock down a building they just put up a few years ago. But
Hmm.
yeah, I will say, like, even, as a 42-year-old guy who, like, when you've been around long enough, if you kind of, you can't help but some of that like kid like wonder for new things wears off. And
Hmm.
but when we got there, when our taxi dropped us off, and you're waiting in that line outside, and then they like finally start letting people in, like, I had that, I don't know about you, I totally had that like kid on Christmas morning feeling, like something
Oh yeah.
special is about to happen, and we're going in, and like that, I haven't experienced that very often as a as an adult. So yeah, like, they did like, the cast deserves so much credit
Oh yeah. They
for
all need
that.
like an Oscar. It's It's
Yeah.
the Imperial officer
Oh yeah, he
was
was. I have a picture with him.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was, of course, going dark side, going first order with my daughter, and
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, it really, and all the like the special effects, like the screens that made it feel like, we were the sort of 3D screens
Hmm.
that made it feel like we were actually like on a ship in space, and some of the special effects like during the climactic battle, like it really was, Disney clearly spent a ton of money on that, and
Yeah.
it must, and it, yes, it cost a ton, but it also must have cost a ton for guests, but it must have cost them a ton to put on every single one of those 2-day voyages, because you have all these actors
Hmm.
that you've got to pay, plus of course the chefs and the people, like all the facilities people, like behind the scenes making it possible. It's like it is definitely not a cheap production.
Yeah. Oh no, not at all. The one thing talking about Kid Wonder was there was two. It was going into the elevator after going through the security checkpoint.
Yes. Yes.
That where it's like we're in a drop pod going to the ship.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is it. And then going into the bus that they retrofitted to be another spaceship to go to Galaxy's Edge. I
Yep.
was like, that's the coolest thing I've
Yeah.
ever
You
been on.
don't see out, like they don't break that fourth wall at
Yeah.
all. Like
Yeah.
it's wild.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. Rest
Guys.
in peace to
To
the
Star
Star Wars
Wars.
Galactic
Yeah.
Star Cruiser. Did you keep, because if you saw the little placard in your room, they said the that little tin, they said you can keep this, you can take this home. It's like a tin with, I don't remember what was actually in it, but it seems like at home, like I think I've got like using it for like to keep band-aids in,
Mhm.
but the like that, those are probably going to be worth money now, because
Yeah.
it's
I
like
mean,
nobody,
I have right now
not that I'm going to sell it, but
some dude and of course I use it to keep pencils in. But some dude, I told him it was my birthday and he bought me
yeah.
the full
Oh,
on
that's cool.
the old fashioned Jabba the Hutt drink.
That's
And
cool.
so and he was like, keep the glass. And I was like, all right. And I
Yeah.
remember it was, yeah, my sister was, we bought one drink where it was like it came in a Mandalorian kind of like tube that he uses for like sniping. And
Yeah.
she was just like pocketing that and putting it in my backpack. And she's like, yeah, they don't need this. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, perfect.
And I bought on the way out,
Hmm.
of course they hit you up at the merch stand on the, but I was like, I'm going to buy a t-shirt. And actually it's funny. I should have thought I would have worn it for this.
Hmm.
But I wore it yesterday, and it's like, even this t-shirt that's Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, like that's a collector's item too, right?
Yeah.
Because how many people, even have that? Because of the people that even, not too many people get to do the voyage over the less than year and a half that it's open. But then how many people bought that shirt on the way
Yeah,
out, right? Not too
exactly.
many people.
Yeah. It's definitely a wild experience. And they definitely I feel like they have to repurpose that building in some way. I mean, turn it
I'm
into a
sure.
ride or something where because they had the entrance itself was just to the hotel was perfect
Yeah.
because it was all concrete and immediately when I walked out of the car I'm like I'm in Star Wars.
Yep.
But yeah, they have to do something. Um but let's talk about the big reason that we're on today, the Summer Games Fest and all the
Yes.
showcases that have been going on for the past week.
Mm-hmm.
How is that? Like how is going to like take us through an IGN man's head of being able to see stuff that not a lot of people can see because it's not like they're putting any of this stuff out on YouTube or anything like that.
Right.
I feel like they want to keep it very enclosed because of how volatile the Twitter community and the YouTube community are.
Yeah, I mean it's always a privilege every year to get to do those. Of course, it used to be E3, the Electronic
Mhm.
Entertainment Expo, and that's gone now, which I will miss. I always loved E3 in the Los Angeles Convention Center, but yeah, this Summer Game Fest thing, it's great, and the showcases. It's just because you know what it is. It's I was mentioning like that feeling of Christmas morning.
Mhm.
The E3 week, these weeks where there's these showcases, that is like the video game industry's Christmas morning, which I guess would be
100%.
maybe more akin to Hanukkah, which because it goes on for many days in a row. Um, but yeah, like it's just so much fun. You know, you're going to get these exciting new game announcements or seeing updates on games that have already been announced that you're excited to see more of. Like for me, the highlight, well, the two highlights. I mean, I got to see Starfield. I mean, we all got to see Starfield in the 45-minute Starfield Direct, but I had the privilege of actually getting to play it for an hour with Todd Howard sitting there watching me the whole time, which is a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
The game director sitting there watching you play, but so that and then during the showcase, the fact that Microsoft kicked it off with the new Fable, like showing a new, bits of gameplay in this gameplay, in-engine trailer. I love Fable from back in the well, I guess it's technically the first one was an original Xbox game, but Fable 2 is my favorite one of the series, and that was on the 360. And I always loved the series, and I just hated that Microsoft completely they screwed that series up themselves. Like they completely just shot themselves in the foot on as far as Fable goes. But now they've handed it off to Playground, the developers of Forza Horizon, who it's a new second team that's in parallel with the Forza Horizon team. And like that team, at least on the Forza Horizon games, they've shown to be one of the greatest developers in the world. I mean, the Forza Horizon games they're all 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 games. Forza Horizon 5 won IGN's Game of the Year 2 years ago, which, is, I don't know if a racing game, a driving game, because that's a lot of people will dismiss it, right? Oh, it's just a driving game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's great, but it's just a driving game. Like, no, Forza Horizon was so good that people that don't normally play racing games would play it and go, "Oh my God, this is so much fun."
Yeah.
So yeah, Playground is so talented that I've already been optimistic about Fable in their hands, and seeing that first trailer that had gameplay bits in it and was recorded on, in the game engine, it looks stunning. And the combat, like I showed, little snippets of combat, and then the whole twist of like, this Fable is like got a Jack and the Beanstalk thing going on, like that. What a awesome take on it to really kind of differentiate it from the original. But yeah, so I that made me so happy. Like there was a mic on me as I was watching that, but it was turned off because we weren't, we weren't on the air as we were watching it. But if my mic had been been hot, you would have heard me just freaking out about how cool that Fable trailer was. So it's just a fun, exciting week. And, you get to play. I would say this, since it wasn't E3 proper and it was a bit of a smaller scale thing, I played fewer games than I normally would. At E3, usually it's a pretty good mix of hands-on and then hands-off, like behind closed door, just demos that a developer's giving you. Didn't get to play too much at over this past week, but there was some cool stuff. I mean, Mortal Kombat 1 was playable.
Yes.
I ended up watching one of my other IGN folks play because I'm just not a fighting game guy. I would have been just fumbling through it. But Mortal Kombat 1's just hilarious just to watch. All the like over the top moves and the fatalities and stuff. Alan Wake 2 was incredible. I love the first one from the Xbox 360. It wasn't playable, but it was they did a half-hour live demo running on a PS5, and they were like controlling it in the back of the room. And that's just awesome. That game.
Did they show both from both perspectives of the characters?
This demo was only with Saga, so we still haven't seen Alan Wake gameplay in Alan Wake 2. But yeah, it looks super next gen. I mean, technology, the game engine and how the game looks has never been a problem for Remedy. They've always made really nice looking games. So that was a highlight. I played a little indie game called Cocoon, which is from one of the original designers of Limbo and Inside, which are two of my favorite games ever. And this is very much in that vein of, if it's, there's no dialogue. it's just puzzles and you're kind of just figuring things out as you go. And like that, it was a long demo. And so there was a station just available. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to sit down and play this.
Mm.
And I couldn't peel myself off it. I kept looking to see like, oh, is anybody else waiting to play? No. Okay. I'm going to keep playing.
Yeah.
So that was great. The new Sonic was really cool. Sonic Superstars. It's a 2.5D Sonic game. So it looks like the classic Sonic games, but there's depth to the background, but it's still like you're playing on a 2D plane like that.
Mm-hmm.
That looked awesome. So, it's last year was really slow. 2022 was just like, for whatever multitude of reasons, not a ton of big games came out.
Yeah.
But this year, boy, is it making up for it and then some. We've just had this endless barrage of incredible big games this year, and seeing a bunch more at Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase, and a lot of those are going to be coming later this year, like Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
Siri, I'm not talking to you. Siri likes to just listen in, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Starfield's going to be huge later this year in September, and Forza Motorsport. We've been waiting for a new one of those. For this one's rebuilt for next gen. That's been a long time coming, and I didn't get to play it. Got the demo, the live demo, but that's out in October, so that's going to be cool as well. So it's just, man, we are eating good right now.
Yeah.
No matter I don't care if you're a Nintendo guy, Xbox guy, PlayStation guy, PC guy, anything you're playing on, is just
it's good.
You're living it up right now.
Well, it sucks for me because Skyrim took over my life when it first came out. I'm that one kid that would buy the game. Like I bought it on PS3, and then how there's that snafu where like the DLC wasn't coming out, and so I was like, screw that, and I bought an Xbox 360 just so I could buy Skyrim.
Nice.
Played it up to the point where I could play the DLC.
Yeah.
Buy it on PS4 when the special edition comes out. Get a PC, buy it on that. Buy the special edition on PC, and it's like it's the amount of money I've given to Skyrim is absolutely insane.
But it sounds like you've gotten your money's worth out of buying it like 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. It's what I love about Bethesda games are it's a gift and a curse for an ADHD kid, because I'll be pretend I'm playing, Fallout 4, and it's like, oh, follow Dogmeat over here.
Right.
And I'll have my dad in my background watching, and I'll be like, yeah, but what about what's in that superstore? There's probably some good loot. And my dad's like, Jesus, dude, just, like
follow the quest.
Follow the quest. Focus, dude. And I'm like, well, there's a horse in the Stormcloak camp that I got to go. And while watching the Starfield Direct, the one thing I noticed is that, oh, I'm going to get stuck in that loop again.
Yep.
Because I got No Man's Sky when it first came out, and the one thing that I realized was that, oh, I'm going to every single planet, and the fact that you can just go to planets in Starfield now, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to every planet, colonizing every solar system. Like I'm going to become the biggest dictator in the world. Like it's going to be a problem.
And if there's an achievement for visiting all 1,000 planets, you're going to get that achievement.
Oh yeah. I think I've platinumed every single Bethesda game.
Nice.
And that's
nice.
And that's like a testament to how much time I have and how much homework I haven't been doing. But but yeah, it feels like, so they're running that on a new engine, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's gotta be crazy. So from the interview that I saw that you did with Todd, he said that it was around 8 years that this thing has been in production. Yeah. That's like, how is that? How do you think that affects the fact that they also had to delay it? You know what I mean? Because you'd feel like if I got this thing 8 years running, I should have it to the point where I'm good. And do you think that they chose that date because it kind of aligned with Skyrim's date, and they're trying to make it a little?
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, you mean the original release date, the 11/11/22? Yeah, I mean, it clearly was a nod to Skyrim. I mean, and it just, and there's I guess if maybe Todd Howard is like a a numbers guy. I've never really asked him that. Like, I've asked him about the 11-11-22 thing, like, you know, because I was giving him grief before the game got delayed. Like, are you really going to hit this? You're announcing it like it was literally, he announced it a year and a half ahead of time.
Yeah.
He said that at the showcase in 2021, in June of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we're going to be out on 11-11-22. And I was like, really? Are you going to do that? And, you know, hey, I'm happy that they're taking extra time to polish it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like 11 plus 11 is 22. So I'm sure he's got something that he just likes about that.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, they didn't make it, but more power to him for at least trying. And now, it'll be 9-6-23. I don't think those numbers really play nice with each other too well, but
yeah, no, it's wild. I think it's a crazy experience. It's definitely a crazy time to be a gamer now, with, you know, Starfield coming out, Cyberpunk getting a damn near facelift. I ever since I saw the trailer for Phantom Liberty, when they first gave the teaser, you know, everybody on Reddit and on YouTube is like, don't pre-order it, you're not gonna.
That's fair.
And it's and you know, it's deserved. But I think I was the one, because I think I was the only one in my friend group that bought Cyberpunk, and I bought it.
What'd you buy it on?
So I bought it on PC.
Okay, so you're fine then. You're fine.
Well, so it was
relatively fine.
It was a pre-built, like 5 years ago PC, and so it was running like 30 frames, and I played that game for hours. I think I have a Steam review on it when I was like 52 hours in.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you know, it's so naive. I was like, yeah, just give it a few months to rub out all the bugs, and it's going to be a great game. But now that I'm playing it on my new custom built PC, it's, you know, it's running like a charm. The new 1.62 update is actually revolutionary, because it's the game that we were kind of promised.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially now with it coming out that like they're redoing skill trees, they're remodeling people, they're doing things that like they said that they couldn't do because they were
the PS4 and Xbox One.
Because they were tethered to last gen consoles. It's bringing me kind of back to, and I know it shouldn't, because you know, you can only be so disappointed from your own expectations, but it's bringing me back to that old the very first teaser trailer that they showed, where it's like, oh, I want to get, you know, immersed in this world.
Totally.
Because it was, I never really got into Witcher 3 because
me neither, honestly.
Yeah, it was,
as much as I respect that game.
Yeah, as much as I know how good that it is, I was more of a, I don't know. It wasn't appealing because it was too big. I think it was too big.
I felt the exact same way. Right, Owen, I was exactly with you. I played a little bit of it, and I was like, I know this is 100+ hours, and I know I don't have 100+ hours to give this game.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I ended up playing like, you know, an hour, just like a quick dabble, and I was like, respect the hell out of this. I don't have 100 hours.
Yeah.
So I know exactly where you're coming from on that.
And it's kind of, and this is kind of another question that I want you to try and give some insight on, but it's nowadays, even with the fact that like YouTube and everything like that is making sure, you know, viewers have shorter retention spans, you know, with the introduction of shorts and things like that. Why do you think that games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that took damn near 2 weeks of my life just to finish the main story? Why do you think games are trying to get longer and trying to get more bloated to the point where it's like there was a point where I was playing Valhalla and it was feeling like a chore. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm already halfway through. I might as well finish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's a very clear and obvious answer. And it's that because the longer you stay in a game, the more likely you're going to spend money in that game.
Mm.
It's that simple. It is, if you're playing publisher X's game instead of publisher Y's game, that's just more opportunity for revenue for publisher X, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's whether you're buying character skins or downloadable content like extra missions or whatever it is. Like that's I am personally, again, it's just my own opinion. I don't like how there's been this there is this almost expectation from gamers now that if a game isn't like 80 to 100 hours or more, that they're not getting their $70 worth.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's not my place to tell other people how to value the money they spend. So this is just my own opinion for me. But because when I was 21, I had way more free time because I didn't have a wife, a dog, a kid. My number of big responsibilities was a lot lower. And so I get it. Like when you get this 100-hour game when you don't, and you've got the free time to enjoy it and invest in it. And that's awesome. And so I'm not discounting that or discrediting that. I just think, but what has happened that I don't like is that if a game is shorter, like a 10, 12 hour awesome single player game, that's like immediately hated on and dissed because, oh, they're charging $70 for, like, well, no, I would rather have 12 amazing hours of some highly polished single player experience. Like that's extremely valuable to me because I can fit that into my schedule as an adult with a full-time job, a wife, a kid, 2 dogs at the moment, fostering one. So yeah, like, but I have noticed that there is this trend now towards expecting games to just offer dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of content, and also dismissing games that don't. And so that like there's a place, both have a place in the gaming world. And so yeah, it has been that's been a little troubling to me as somebody that covers this industry at IGN. But the good news is, like, I forget, I wish I could give credit and remember who. There was some tweet I saw not too long ago that said, that was sort of basically laying out how, like, there are actually that we are in fact in a golden age of single player games right now.
100%.
Even if it feels like, oh, everything's live service and just trying to keep you online and keep hitting you up for more and more money, like, the Destinies of the world and what have you. But no, like, so many big games over the last like year and a half have been single player games. Elden Ring, biggest game of 2022. I know, it was a light year, but Elden Ring would have probably won game of the year in just about any year.
Yeah.
That happened to be a big game with a ton of content in it, but single player game. I just came off of, before I started playing Diablo 2, which is my new addiction. Of course, as I get done saying, the live service games, that's my one exception, is I've been a Diablo guy forever. But Star Wars Jedi Survivor was like an awesome 20 hours or so. And there's no other BS with it. There's no multiplayer. There's no live service hooks. It's just, I played the 20 hours, loved it. And I feel like, yep, that was well worth the time that I spent and the value of that game. So, there was that. There's there's a bunch more. I mean, Starfield, we talked about, that's coming up. Spider-Man 2 on PS5 is, single player only game, big, that'll be big this year. There's a bunch of them. So the good news is there is room for everything.
Yeah.
But I do still feel like there's this discourse right now of, it's got to be 50 plus hours for it to be worth the $70. And I really just don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, which is it's crazy because I mean me and my buddies will we like the Outlast trials just came out, which is it's like their multiplayer version of
Yeah,
Outlast 1 and 2. And I think we've played it for 9 hours, and it was like $40, and we'll play it sporadically, but it's every single time we get on, it's those meaningful hours to the point where it's like I'm fine that I dropped $40 and I've only played
yeah,
it for this long. And it's like
right.
we're damn near the end. And it's like I'm completely fine with that because it's not only is it the moments that I'm gaining from playing with other people, but also the moments that I'm gaining from, oh, both of my buddies are down. I got this crazy lady trying to kill me with a duck. Like I gotta, and it's like, and I'm also not a big horror game guy, and so it's a great way to kind of get out of your comfort zone and enjoy something that they actually spent some time into
Yeah,
because it wasn't a buggy release. It was very crisp. And another game that reminds me of is Dead Island 2.
sure.
Is that game had actually is kind of what you're saying. I mean, they're adding DLC now, but I think it's $7 optional like skins that
Yeah,
you can get, and then the two DLC that they're having. But me and one of my friends got it day one and just went to town, and there was very few bugs. And
yeah.
if there was a bug, it was a floating zombie, which everybody can laugh at. Great story. The gore system in that was
It's
fundamentally changing the world how I see people now. So I'm like, oh my god, if I hit somebody with an acid blade, they're done. And it's weird. I don't know. I've had a very weird love-hate relationship with video games that have been shorter, like the Order 1886. I remember playing that
Yep,
thinking like, oh, I'm playing a movie,
yep.
and then being okay that it was a good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It wasn't a good game per se, but it
right. I
was
would agree with that.
but it was
Yeah,
it was a good
the story was great.
yeah, it was a good HBO show. If it be,
Yep.
you know what I
Well
mean?
said.
And
Yeah.
then and then on the more longer sides, I know I was talking about Valhalla, but the one Assassin's Creed that was long that I was actually really into was Odyssey,
Odyssey. Yeah, I knew you were
because
going to say that. Yeah.
Odyssey was an amazing story. You know what I mean? After if you the problem about that though was that you had to level up your character and all that stuff. And so if it had that story without the whole RPG thing that I think Ubisoft does a lot, where they'll take pieces of other games and kind of put it in.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that now with the new Avatar game. It looks very similar to a Far Cry game,
Hmm.
and the new what is it, Star Wars Outlaws looks
Outlaws.
very
Yeah.
similar to a Division esque kind of shooting style and things like that. And it's they take their bits and pieces, and if they just remove that little piece, that game would have been like, I think that game is so underrated. It gets a way more hate than it should because just the story alone is amazing. But that's one of those games where I'll spend 80 hours playing because I like the way that the character interacts with
Yeah.
side characters, and I like the way that they talk. And so yeah, it's I don't know, it's a weird kind of tug
Yeah. I
tug
mean,
of
one of
war
my
that I'm
favorite
in.
games ever is Inside
Hmm.
from Playdead, the people that made Limbo.
Yeah.
Inside is 3 hours long. It was $20. It's a 3 hour game. It's one of the most memorable video games I've ever played. And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, it was basically like what I would have paid for a movie ticket to go to a
Yeah.
3 hour movie.
Yeah.
Except I was controlling it. And yeah, it's there's I mean, I do respect and agree that our expectations should on developers and publishers
Hmm.
should get higher when the game prices get higher. Now
Yeah.
that we're up to $70 games, I know there's a whole like inflation and games are actually cheaper than ever thing we
Yeah.
could get into, but yeah, like I just uh I think that it doesn't I don't need the 70 I don't for $70 I don't need it to be 60 hours long. It
Yeah.
can be 10 to 20 awesome hours, and I'm totally good with that because I don't know, I just am like, you know, and if other people disagree and feel like, you know, that they're the value that they get out of a game is directly proportional to the amount of hours of gameplay it offers them, that's fine. You know, that's how they value their money. But for me, yeah, I want to see, I don't want to see this, you know, that I hope it doesn't reach the point where publishers think, oh, we have to pad our games out until there's 60 hours and we can't even green light anything that's a 20-hour game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, it's a cool time to be alive, but it's also a weird time to be alive because it's everything's so kind of unfiltered, but also filtered at the same time, where it's crazy.
Yeah, there's I know he's like canceled now, but there's you just reminded me of a great Louis C.K. stand-up bit where I think he was talking about like flying, but the sort of punchline was he goes, everything's amazing and no one's happy.
Yeah.
Because he's right. Yeah. It's like all this technology, all the great video games and all this great stuff, and nobody's happy. So
exactly.
That sort of sums up social media and
in a nutshell,
the video game world, right?
Yeah. But speaking of kind of winding down on the whole Summer Games Fest, do you think or did you see any games that you think might be going under the radar? I know that the two, and of course, because I'm a big Soulsborne guy, the one I was seeing was Remnant 2.
Yep.
I think that definitely was kind of thrown under the rug a little bit because the first one was really good, but I think it didn't have that much of a following. It didn't sell that well. And then oh my God, the other one was Lords of the Fallen, which that first game was actually so bad. But the second one is starting to look more like a Soulsborne. Like it's very intriguing now, and I think they said they completely remade like the entire story and everything like that. And it's so do you think that there are games that will be, you know, I mean, I guess every time there's going to be a game that is kind of slid under without getting the recognition that it deserves, but
totally. Well, you mentioned a couple good ones, and I'll throw in one more. But so Remnant 2, I didn't get to play myself, but I did. It was at Play Days. It was at the Summer Game Fest event, and the report I got back from Seth on our team that did play it, he loved it. He loved it, and I think that's out sometime this summer. I want to say like July or something. If don't quote me on that, but yeah. So you're right. I think that's a good one that could end up kind of flying under the radar. And then and sorry, what was the second one you mentioned?
It was Lords of the Fallen.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. So that wasn't at Summer Game Fest, but I got to see that at GDC, the Game Developers Conference back in March. I got a behind closed doors demo of it. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game. It's going to be end up just being one of the first Unreal Engine 5 games to actually come out. And it is, first of all, it is gorgeous. Like it is one of the prettiest games I think I've ever seen. Like it is a stunning game to look at. But yeah, it definitely seemed like it has a really nice feel for the Soulsborne formula, but its big twist, its big sort of hook is you have this lantern.
Yeah.
That if you hold it up, it shows you this like total other world. I forget their name for it, but it's like this other world that's right there. And so they work that into the puzzles. Like you'll have to, you know, like, because the other world might have like I don't know, some place you can walk, and whereas the place, you know, the normal world doesn't. And so yeah, there's a really neat system with that. And yeah, I think Lords of the Fallen, which I think that's out in October, that I think could end up being a really I mean, we'll see about successful, but I think a really good game for sure. And then the one I would add to your list is Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
It's I feel like the first one was kind of a cult classic on the 360, like because it famously didn't sell enough to justify Microsoft or somebody else putting up money to do the sequel back then,
Mm-hmm.
but now kind of over time it's like built up this cult following.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it's gonna, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I've heard that was kind of a neat little thing from, but no, whether you've played Alan Wake 1 or not,
Mm-hmm.
Alan Wake 2 is a game I think needs to get some more love and attention, because it's survival horror. It's gonna have a great story, because every Remedy game has a great story.
Mm-hmm.
It looks gorgeous. Yeah, that game, it's coming out in October, which is a time when a ton of big games are coming
Yeah.
out. You were talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. Well,
The
the
new one,
next
yeah.
Mirage, which is more throwing it back to the old school Assassin's Creeds, that's coming out in October. You've got, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff out in September, like Mortal Kombat 1, which is going to
Mm-hmm.
be huge. Starfield in September, Spider-Man 2 in October. Like, it is going to be an insane fall season this
Yeah.
year. I mean, the whole year is insane, like we were talking about before. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's September, October specifically are going to be just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's there's no one's gonna have a Halloween. I'll tell you that much. No one's having a Halloween.
Yeah.
So kind of moving over towards Ubisoft's thing, I did mention that they were coming out with the new Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
And now that the entire kind of EA like exclusivity deal for Star Wars games is done, what would you like to see any other kind of companies or any other kind of genres of games in the Star Wars universe? Because
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, and I dropped it to my buddy Kevin Kimball, who works at Striking Distance, is a kind of Dead Space-esque, where you're on just a big Venator and you play one of like, you can just play a clone trooper, and because there's zombies in Star Wars, and it just have that, and every time they die, you kind of transfer to a different clone trooper or something like that, where it's
Right.
like put different aspects of games into the Star Wars universe, because I feel like because it's overarching, like Cal Kestis can meet the girl from Outlaws. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If it's in a Star Wars property, I wouldn't assume that like EA would, text their Ubisoft friends and be like, hey, can we use her character model for a cutscene or anything? But I feel like now that gaming has kind of made its way into the Star Wars universe, what kind of games do you think could be interesting?
I mean, well, Respawn, of course, who made Jedi Fallen Order and now Jedi Survivor, they have another team working on a first-person shooter, because
Mm,
that's an obvious one.
yeah,
Like, yes,
so
give me a
give me
first-person shooter.
give me Star Wars Titanfall, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, I mean, that'll be one that's, because I love first-person shooters, so that's one that'll
Hmm.
be high on my list once we get to see it. Amy Hennig, the original writer of Uncharted,
Hmm.
longtime Naughty Dog developer, she's doing a Star Wars game at Skydance Studios, which will probably, I mean, it'll be narrative driven somehow,
Yeah.
whatever, presumably like a third person action adventure type thing. That will be very high on my list too. That's going to be one to watch. Yeah, in terms of like other genres, I mean, I'd love a full on Star Wars RPG.
Hmm.
With the KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic, which you
Yeah.
might be a little young for,
Oh
but
no, I've gotten my hands
oh,
down and
good.
dirty with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It KOTOR is, yeah, I think I would still say it's my favorite role playing game ever.
yeah. Hmm.
Period. All
Hmm.
time. KOTOR was brilliant. It was incredible. And the remake seems like it's
It's kind of
just kind of,
dead in the water a little bit.
well, yeah, it's funny. I was thinking of that exact phrase. I don't know if that might be a little strong, but it's having some trouble.
Yeah.
I think is definitely fair to say, with sort of the scope and the people doing it, is like, oh, are they, what's going on here? So I don't know if that's ever even going to end up coming out, but
Hmm.
like, okay, if it doesn't, then let's get somebody to do a full on Star Wars RPG. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I would take either a, you know, if BioWare, if the new BioWare, because like most of the old developers from the KOTOR days, from the Mass Effect days, a lot of them seem to have left. You know,
Hmm.
there were a lot of reports about the culture at BioWare, and
Hmm.
there's been a lot of changes there. They're under new leadership now. But if the new BioWare that's currently working on the new Dragon Age and the new Mass Effect,
Hmm.
if that those teams can show that they can still make RPGs that live up to the old BioWare
Yeah.
RPGs, then I'd love to see them get a shot
Hmm.
at making a Star Wars RPG. And then I'd also be happy to see a more, you know, Starfield-esque
Yeah. Yeah.
first
I was
person.
thinking that
Yeah,
too.
you know, Todd Howard's busy. He's not going to be
Yeah.
making you know, he's busy with Starfield and then Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5. So cuz I mean that'd be the dream, right? Like, hey Todd,
Yeah. Can you make a
can you
Star
make a
Wars
Star
game,
Wars game next? I mean,
please?
I think people want Elder Scrolls 6 next, and I'm right
Yeah.
there with them,
Yeah.
but you know, I don't know who would make it. Like, what talented developer we'd want to make a first person open world, you know, Elder Scrolls like Star Wars game. Maybe Obsidian, after they get done with
Hmm.
Avowed, could be cool. They've certainly shown the talent for something like that. But in any case,
Hmm.
yeah, I think so. Those are the few that come to mind of genres I'd love to see done with Star Wars.
Well, I think a wild choice that I could put up there would be In Exile.
Sure, yeah,
Wasteland 3 was actually, one of my top games that when it came out, and they know how to do dialogue and they know how to
oh
do
yeah,
it. They know how to do a story. And considering that they're a lot of the guys from the young Fallout days,
mm-hmm.
putting and it's also how I kind of imagine the way people think of when like a Warhammer game comes out. Because when a Warhammer game comes out, it's never what you want. Where it's like, why aren't we a Space Marine first person shooter? You know what I mean? It's always like, well, here's a Doom like bit game, and here's a isometric, and it works. You know what I mean? Because it shows you the true power of the lore and everything like that. And so having like an isometric Star Wars game where it's like people are missing blaster shots left and right, and
Right.
it could totally introduce just the gamer brain to, oh, I love this.
Yeah, I'd be down with a Star Wars CRPG. That'd be good.
Yeah. Okay, so we are gonna wrap up a little bit, but I have three questions for you
Okay.
that I asked the community. And number one is, with E3 canceled and seemingly dead in the water, are we seeing sufficient interest in similar showcases and events to maintain that kind of coverage? How has that impacted IGN's reporting, and has anything positive come out of the changes?
Those are good. It definitely hasn't impacted our reporting. Like, we treat every one of these things like a big event. Like, we sort of Voltron the whole team up together, like that, you know, people that are normally working on this or that or the other thing, all like everybody's focused on the one event.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say it's impacted our coverage, but I do think the industry has suffered a bit as a whole by not having E3 and everything all together under one roof over the course of a few days. Because that was our Super Bowl week, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was where you'd get the USA Todays of the world, the Wall Street Journals, the sort of mass media publications to pay attention to the video game industry. I mean, quite frankly, they should be anyway, because the game industry is bigger than movies and it's bigger than pretty much everything now.
Yeah.
But I you know, it did. I think some of the luster is off of it now. So then now that E3 is not a thing anymore. But remind me, what were the pieces of this question again? I want to make sure I address them all.
So it was, with E3 canceled, we're seeing sufficient interest in similar showcases.
Okay, yes, definitely we are seeing plenty of interest. Like, you know, we get hundreds of thousands of people tuning in live to watch Sony showcase from a couple weeks ago and the Microsoft one from last week. So yeah, the audience will come out. That at least that part hasn't been affected.
And then you talked about how it has impacted IGN's reporting, which is not really. And then has anything positive come out of the changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm sure the answer is yes, but I don't know. Like, I guess I wouldn't say it's been negative, other than, again, my opinion that it's not as good for the industry overall. But I don't, yeah, how's anything positive come out of it? I mean, I don't know. It's like we used to get Microsoft would do their press conference in the room with a bunch of fans, and then like the next day, Sony would do their press conference with everybody in the room. And then the next day, Nintendo would do one. And you'd just get everybody that would just come to play, right? Everybody would bring their A game. And, Nintendo, like, we haven't heard from them, like, they just do the direct now, which the direct is a nice format, but it would be nice once a year for them to, really up their game and be like, no, we're going to do an in-person, like, live thing with a bunch of huge announcements, which, Microsoft's thing was pre-recorded too, and so was Sony's. I'd love to see everybody kind of get back, but I'm still getting away from the question of positive things that have come out of it. I don't know. Again, I guess I don't have a good answer. But I'm not saying that there are negative things necessarily. It's just, I don't know if it's necessarily actually better in any way. But, we always just do the best we can with whatever the situation is.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is final question. This is an IGN question, but for non-technical college graduates, how would one get into this enterprise, this business? How would they get to the front office activities versus the back office activities? Like if I didn't have a journalism degree or anything like that, and I was just art history, but I'm very into video games, like how would one get into this industry?
Doing like on the media side, like what I'm doing, or in the development side?
Well, let's start with the media side. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the simplest answer there is start a YouTube channel and start making, they don't have to be like Marquez Brownlee level production quality videos. You don't have to be doing MKBHD, but you can work on writing good scripts for whatever it is you want to talk about, whether you decide I bought a game and I'm going to review it. And it doesn't matter that the review embargo was, because, you're not going to get an early copy like IGN gets, but like, just start, don't worry about timing of anything, but just start making stuff. So, work on your scripts, work on your writing, work on your VO, your presentation. I've had to work a lot on my voiceover specifically. Like if you listen back to the first couple reviews I did at IGN, because when I started my career at Official Xbox magazine back in the day, and so that was just a magazine. So I'm exercising my writing muscle.
Yeah.
But then when I got to IGN 11 years ago and we do video reviews, okay, well, I'm still writing my reviews, but I need to, like, I'm voicing these now. Like I gotta, and I was horrible in the beginning. You go back and listen to some of my early ones and they're not good. And you might still think I'm not good, but I've put a lot of thought and practice into getting better than I was. So yeah, that's, you can start a YouTube channel and you can just start, writing and working on VO and maybe start to get a slow grasp on rudimentary video editing. So that's probably or, okay. And if you don't necessarily, doesn't have to be video, but just start a blog. Like, if you don't want to necessarily do video stuff, start a blog and just start writing, and it doesn't matter if 0 people see it. You have to do it, get it up there so that if, you get to a point where you feel like, IGN's got an opening. You know what? I've been honing my craft and working on this for a while. I want to apply. Okay, well, if we're going to look at your application, you better point to that blog. You got to have something that I can look at
Hmm.
to see, your talent, your skill set. Just, it can't just be, you're not going to get hired if you don't have anything to show,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And with how it's free and easy for anyone to have a blog and or a YouTube channel now. So there's really just no excuse. You've got to be making something.
Hmm.
And again, it doesn't matter if no one is seeing it or reading it. You've just got to be working on it. So that's the media answer. And for game development, I've never developed a game, so I may not be the best person to answer this, but
Hmm.
certainly anybody can get into the biggest foot in the door that I've observed over the years is QA, is getting into
Hmm.
quality assurance, game testing. So, and that's for the most part is not fun. It is not it is, you are hammering on like one spot in one level to try and repeat crash bugs and break the game basically, so that then the developers can fix the game so that when customers get it in their hands, it doesn't crash their system.
Hmm.
So, QA, but there have been many people over the years have gone in through QA and ended up being level designers or producers or even, game directors. So QA is definitely a good way in, particularly if you don't have like I have. If I wanted to go into game development, that's what I would have to do, because and I don't say have to do like a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I don't have an art background.
Hmm.
I have no programming skills. So I'm not an audio engineer. So QA would be my way in with maybe then, okay, then I just to learn about how making a game works.
Hmm.
And you can then you kind of get into it, and you can find your way then to maybe a discipline that either interests you and or you show some affinity for or skill set for, whether it's, like I said, being a producer, a level designer, a game director, whatever it ends up being.
Mm. Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you for your time, man.
Sure thing.
It's always an honor to talk video games with you. Is there any socials or anything you want me to put in the description? Anything you want to mention?
Well, DMC underscore Ryan on Twitter. And if anybody out there, I do a little side gig at nights and weekends. I have a Tesla podcast. I'm way into Teslas. So I've always been a car guy ever since I was a kid. And I've just loved what Tesla's been doing for the last 10 plus years. So my Tesla podcast comes out every Sunday. It's called Ride the Lightning. So if you search Ride the Lightning Tesla, you will find me. Because if you leave off the Tesla part, you're going to find Metallica, which is also cool, but Ride the Lightning Tesla is what to search for if you're curious to check out my Tesla podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you for hopping on and talking to me, my man.
You got it, Owen.
All right.